Hello, good evening. It's another Friday. It's the day the Lord has made. Gradually, this week is coming to an end. You're welcome to the show you've been always looking forward to every Friday, Facts of the Week. We know you've made us the reference point to separate the facts, the wheat and the chaff. The things that are happening in the week, we know your fingers are crossed because you know we will come and set the record straight. My name is Valentina Ofori Afriyie, and you're welcome to Ghana's #1 CTV. We are live on Facebook, my CTV GH. Like the page, comment and share. Join us there. You can also send us a message on the WhatsApp number that will be announced in the course of the program. But write it down right now, 020-066-8486, 020-066-8486. That's where you can send your messages and your contributions to the program too. Facts of the Week is supported by Fairnut. They are the proud producers of the furniture we are using. Wood is for life. Great furniture is made by Fairnut, and also by Aquaba Natural Mineral Water, the best natural mineral water on the market, quenching thirst and nourishing the nation with pure, clean, refreshing Aquaba Natural Mineral Water. We are on your screens every Friday, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Today, I have two gentlemen here with me to tell you what the truth is, what the facts are, what is the propaganda, and what the chaff is. Two very important issues happening this week. You know, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association declared a strike action. Condition of service, they said they've signed and government has decided not to implement it. Really? Is that the government decision or there's more to it? We'll tell you about that. And yesterday, President John Mahama made an intervention. By now, 64 radio stations would have been off air. They were off air for some hours, but President Mahama intervened. Why were they off air? Regulatory violations and breaches. There's a precedent, yes, but why is it that in this case is different? What are the facts? What are the situations? That's what we will tell you today here on Facts of the Week, right after this. Welcome back to Facts of the Week on Ghana's #1 CTV. We are live on Facebook, my CTV GH. My guest, lawyer Theophilus Jimega Jr. is to my left. Lawyer, grateful to have you once again. You're welcome. I hope you're doing well. Yes,
I'm doing pretty fine. Good.
Everything okay?
Good.
Fantastic.
I'm happy. I'm happy the so-called strike is over. And I wonder why they didn't say it's over today.
But we will see whether it's really over, or they have something up their sleeves. And then to my right, Dr. Dosman Kofi Annan, the broadcast journalist. He wears many hats. He's a researcher. He's a doctor. He's a lawyer. He's a researcher. Doc.
Wow, it's good to be here.
Yeah. I look forward to every Friday, actually.
Hope you're good.
I am well. Fantastic. So let's just zoom in. Council, let me begin from you. And the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. So they had threatened to go on strike, and there was a roadmap, beginning with the wearing of red armbands, and then withdrawal of OPD services, withdrawal of emergency services, and total boycotts. Now, what they're saying is that government should implement a condition of service agreement they had signed last year. But this condition of service, they are accusing the government that they gave the government 6 months, so the government should be able to implement this. And this is something they signed a year ago under the Akufo-Addo government, actually. And when they signed it, the government at that time told them, because of the economic conditions, they could not implement it. The nurses agreed to hold on to it. And even their own members took them to court. That delayed the implementation of this. The Akufo-Addo government, when they left power, even the final budget they were supposed to present, it didn't capture the condition of service for these Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. NDC government takes office. Even before that, during the transition team, nothing of that happened. They didn't even talk about it. Government comes in, the leadership of the association said they've written several letters. Government says, okay, come to the negotiation table. Let's have a discussion on how to implement. They say no, there's nothing to discuss. Everything has been agreed, implemented, and that's what we are waiting for. And so to them, government doesn't want to implement. So they give a timeline. If you don't implement, this is what we're doing. Minister of Health calls them to a meeting. They say we are not coming to discuss, except you are telling us that we are coming to implement it. And so without that, that's where the strike happened. People say they've lost relatives. It's a sad thing, but we, the patients, had to be held for ransom. And today they decided to call off that strike. Now, Council, the reasons they said they were going on the strike, did it make sense to you?
Good evening to your viewers and those watching online. I would say that I had very little sympathy for the strike.
Okay, why?
Reason being that you have enumerated some steps taken prior. Now, the agreement was signed under the Akufo-Addo government. The last budget didn't capture it. Even the handover notes that would have been given to the incoming administration, because at the handover, the transition period, they will ask, are there any pending labor issues? They were not captured in the handover notes. Then you had your own members, be they political, be they apolitical, taking you to court, and that delayed the implementation. Then a new government comes in place. Then you want to hold the government on ransom because of this. You see, I have always been thinking that it is time we implement solutions such as training more military and let me say Ghana Armed Forces personnel to be nurses and doctors, so that they can be reservists. When we have a situation like this, they are quickly deployed to the various hospitals. Okay. This will reduce this situation. Secondly, see, in the UK, when you go on strike, you are not paid. So unlike years back when people can go on strike for a year, you can't attempt to be in the house for a year. The unions have a backup or a buffer. Because you are paying union dues, they can give you half your salary for a day or two. Beyond that, you can't.
You're on your own.
You are on your own. And in this situation, that cannot happen. We just heard last night about Israel striking Iran. Oil prices will go up. A lot of the things budgeted for will now have to be readjusted. And you are asking for something and the government says, hold on, this has not been captured. There will be the mid-year budget. There will be the end-of-year budget. Let us find a way of stagger and pay you in bits. If you look at some of the demands, how many of them do research? They are asking for research and book allowance. I mean, with all respect to them, how many of them do that research? They're asking for a fuel allowance, night allowance. Come on.
Height allowance.
Good. How many of them? I mean, and they are asking for those who will be paid, who will be sent to the rural areas. Look, in my local parlance, they say you know the job before you took advance. Okay? You know the job. You know them before you took advance. So you can't start the job having taken advance, then you come back to say, I really don't know, this is how the job is going to be. So the advance I took was not enough. No.
So on your screen are the demands they are making. So.
Yes. No, Val, it's a serious thing. So before you entered and signed, you would have known that I will be working A, B, C period, and whether the amount will cover it or not.
Okay.
Yes. So if it will not cover, then you don't take the job. So for me, for them saying that they are going on strike because the money is not enough, I don't sympathize with them. However, there's a story that happened in Hohoi today. I don't know whether you heard it. There was this man, the wife was in labor. They went to Jessica, they were turned away. The man took the woman on the motorbike. They were going to Howell, and the bumps on the road, they couldn't continue.
Yeah.
And they stopped, and the woman was in labor. Then there was a reverend minister passing by and said, "Come on, let me give them lift." The moment he gives them lift, the woman gave birth delivers in the car. They rushed to the hospital. Dr. Doe, a private medical practitioner, was able to, he said the baby's fingers were all pale blue, was able to save baby and mom. I mean, through no fault of theirs. Where is our sympathy level? This strike was needless. I know that people are saying, let us sympathize with the nurses. I heard the nurse saying that when you go to certain institutions where you are working there and you need the services of that organization, it's free. But for nurses, when you come to the hospital and you are unwell, it's free. No, I don't believe that. How many nurses will be unwell and go and say, "Doctor, I want to see you," and they will say, "Go for consultation before you come and see me"? You just walk into the doctor's consultation room. No nurse will do that. So for me, this strike was just a bit of, I don't want to believe it initially, but I went.
Do you think it's politically motivated?
More than political.
Oh,
because
really?
the press, you see, again, I can't watch NDC's leaning here. But I think that it is time NDC has to pay attention to election into various union reps. And it has to pay attention to, because these guys command a lot of people behind them. And they can put sand in your gari. I had Perpetua, and I went to look for the information. Perpetua's husband is an MPP constituency chairman. And I'm like, wow, that girl, that lady could be used to undo a lot of things or do a lot of things. And that is exactly what happened. Because I feel that if it was, for the 4 years that, or 8 years that Nanado was in government, how many strikes have you heard about from nurses? Their conditions were super? No, it didn't happen that way. So for me, this particular strike was...
So that's the husband of the president of the Ghana Nurses and Midwives Association. In fact, Perpetua with the husband. And that's the poster. They were organizing a victory walk on the 23rd of November 2024. That's the poster.
Yes, so imagine. And you want to tell me that that man or the lady, granted that Perpetua is even a Jehovah's Witness person or deeper life and doesn't do anything politics.
So,
you think that
if
the
her husband is elected or appointed as a minister, she will not support the husband?
She will.
Okay.
She will. That is exactly what the point I'm making. That assuming she is apolitical, she doesn't drink or eat politics, doesn't want to hear it, and you have a husband who has a vested interest in how this government is run, come on. The lady, so that is why I'm saying that NDC must open its eyes, pay attention to people who are being elected. In other jurisdictions, the Social Democrats are labor friendly, or labor is more friendly to the Social Democrats, but we don't have it here. So it is time we need to look. I would advise President Mahama to have even a desk at the presidency, whose role purposely is just to monitor who gets elected into what assistance should be given to who to get elected into what. Very soon you will start to hear about the Nooks one. They will also be there. Then you will see that.
Nooks has always been an interest.
Yes, Nooks one will come. Then I noticed that the last time
SRC,
Ghana Law School, SRC also is becoming. Yeah. Yes, we need to pay attention to this. So in the end, you are electing a political class that will work against you. No, we don't have that. We don't need time. We don't have time for that. Currently, what we need is the peace we are enjoying, the development we are enjoying, and the improvement that Ghana is going through. That is all we need. This type of thing. And the people who have died, or who might have died, what are they going to do now? Are they going to call their relatives and say, we'll try and bring your relatives back? It's not possible. I mean, again, under the Labour Act, the way they went for their strike shouldn't have happened. But for the fact that I listened to Honorable Apenyo Markins yesterday and his posture and everything, I'm like, come on. He said they have politicized the strike. The strike has already been politicized by themselves.
National Labour Commission stated categorically that the strike was illegal.
Yes.
And told them to call it off. They refused because the executives that declared the strike decided to leave the jurisdiction immediately after
the court's ruling, so that they were not served.
You know, immediately after declaring that action, they went to ILO and decided to abandon.
You know,
and then NLC even went to court.
Some of government officials were supposed to go to ILO, and they couldn't go because this is a serious matter for them to stay back and deal with. And the people they were to deal with had gone for the ILO. How are you going to deal with them?
That's why they held the press conference today to say that they are suspending. And it's surprising that people say, look, you hold a press conference this morning that you are suspending the strike. You held the press conference even before 10 a.m.
Yes.
And then you say you resume work tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So what are you going to do the whole of today? Is it that it's a system where you need today to clean the parts of the machinery before? So what happens between today and tomorrow? Emergency services, people who are delivering, people who are on dialysis, etc. No. In fact, the nurses, please, I want to tell you. But you see, I have a problem.
What is it?
My problem is that prior to the election 2024, we have Pro Forum. And Pro Forum had nurses branch or nurses group. Where were they? They could have said, we are not part of this group. We will go to work.
There were some of the nurses groups that were working.
Yes,
some of them were working because some of them said that we have a meeting. You decide that let's go on strike. I say, okay, let me go and inform our members so that we will come back. And the time they said they were going to inform the members, the JRNMA had declared a strike.
Yes, so the groups that were working, remember, they were even asking for security support because some started attacking those who were working.
Yes.
You see, so they also, out of fear, disappeared. But if we have the Pro Forum group from the NDC that has a lot of the nurses, they could have said, hey, let's go back. So that, I mean, visibility is something that will change the perception of everybody about this strike. So for me, in fact, I don't think I have sympathy for the strike. I sincerely pray that the implementation of that agreement should be deferred to next year.
Why?
I've given enough reasons to say. I feel that they do not deserve some of the things they are demanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Politically motivated?
First of all, let me begin my submission by saying a very good evening to Mr. Ampofo, a.k.a. Obama. You know,
he's in your constituency?
Yes, I know him. He's a friend. Actually.
Okay.
Okay.
I know the husband of the woman, so a very good friend. So, Chief, good evening. One more. You know, ordinarily, sometimes you should watch your environment. You know the space in which you are, and try as much as possible to take, no matter how difficult it is, position yourself in such a way that people will not read unnecessary meanings. Maybe you could mean well in trying to deal with a particular situation. Yes, we observe that you are a leader, and so maybe it is not even your intention to declare a strike, but for your people. Yeah. But when it comes out that you, the leader, your posturing and your attitude and everything gives a certain signal, then everybody will be justified to read meanings politically or whatever it is into the actions that you said. And Val, the whole of this week we've had several discussions on this matter. And even this morning I said it on our sister network that, listen, the first point, I mean, these nurses shouldn't behave as though they are the only kind super nurses all over the place. Some of us, we have nurses in our homes, 10, 15 of them, siblings, relatives, cousins, and what have you, who are all nurses. And like I said this morning, I engaged them and asked them, what is the purpose of that strike? So you are interested in seeing people die at the expense of the profession you swore to. In fact, your Hippocratic oath is clear when you finish your nursing and you are taking that your pledge, what's it called, Nightingale pledge or whatever they call it. It is written. In fact, you said it with your own mouth that you are going. The life of the people is going to be your first priority. So how is it that because of a certain height allowance, you want somebody to die?
What is the height allowance about?
I'm told. I asked my siblings. I asked them to explain. They said, you know, sometimes the buildings that you work on, sometimes they have fifth floor, fourth floor, and all that. So if you're a person who is not okay with, Councillor, are you listening? If you are not okay with
trying to find out from the internet what is
the height.
Like the height.
So you are afraid of height.
So you are afraid of height. So you have to pay you a certain height allowance. What?
So fire service people who have been climbing tall buildings together, they have to be paying height allowance.
Imagine, Va.
So the doctors will also get height allowance.
That is the point. Wow. That is the point.
And the cleaners, because they're also cleaning those same floors and climbing, they also get height allowance.
You see the issues. And so, and there's a certain funeral allowance. I was like, what is funeral allowance?
So they said it's the internet says it's allowance based on those working in challenging heights of the.
Yes.
So when you are climbing stairs.
Yes.
Or you are lifting something from the.
Yes. In this country.
So the cleaners and everybody who works in that facility is entitled to a height allowance then.
Point is, in this country, how many of our medical facilities have that kind of height they are talking about that they want allowance to cover them? How many of them? So please, I mean, we have said this thing. I mean, for some reasons, the accounts have a proven that a FH in Yabufuno. Other than that, would have told them to take they can still go on their strike. Yeah. So the government to take a certain posture against these people.
There are a lot of people backlog who have not been employed for years.
Let me refer you to, and if your director is ready, let me refer you to the Labour Act, Section 162. I'm sure I sent it.
Yes, it's on the screen. Exactly. It's on the screen.
Look, let's read
Essential services.
Essential services. It says, in any industrial dispute that affects workers engaged in an essential service, the parties to the dispute shall endeavour to settle the dispute within 3 days of the occurrence of the dispute by negotiation. Why were they
by not implementation?
No.
By negotiation. That's number one. Okay.
So, if after the expiration of the
3 days
the dispute remains unresolved, the party shall, within 24 hours of the expiry of the 3 days, refer the dispute to the commission for settlement by compulsory arbitration under Section 164.
They failed to show up when the National Labour Commission called them.
Exactly. Now 3, the commission shall take immediate steps, but not later than 3 days after the dispute has been referred to it, to settle the dispute by compulsory arbitration under section. They didn't go. How was the Labour Commission going to do it?
And that's how come the Labour Commission gave their ruling, because Fair Wages and Salaries Commission appeared and the nurses were nowhere to be found. The leadership were nowhere to be found.
Exactly. Now let me give you the last one. The same act.
It's on your screen,
Act,
actually.
2003 Act 651. Section 163. It talks about prohibition of strike or lockout in respect of essential services. An employer carrying on or a worker engaged in an essential service shall not,
not will not, shall. It's mandatory.
Or
you shall not.
May not. This is shall not resort to lockout or strike in connection with or in furtherance of any industrial dispute involving the workers in the essential service. So what the nurses did was just blatant disregard for everything legal. Everything legal in this country.
That's right.
And we sat and watched them throw their waste all over the place. And today you come and take something and say what you've called a strike off, and then you are starting work tomorrow. What about today? Like you said, what about today? So, like I said, even though we want to, we appreciate their suspension of the illegal strike they attempted or in fact they engaged in. We don't laugh over. It's a serious matter. I am very passionate about this particular discussion because, like I said this morning on radio, I lost my uncle in 2006 on a similar grounds. That nurses did not attend to him when he was rushed to the facility.
That they lost somebody.
And like I said this morning on radio to TikTok, there was this lady who made the case that her uncle was dying, took the uncle to the hospital. He had an asthma attack. They were just sitting there and telling her that they are on strike. What the man died. And then they have to refer the man. Now after that, they now have to refer the man to the mortuary. Can you imagine? How mean can you be?
No, so let's just watch this video from Kede Boateng, Deputy Eastern Regional Secretary of the NDC.
Okay.
Just like Council said that he didn't want to believe that there's a political twist to this, but based on what is happening. And when we come back, I'll tell you, the nurses were demanding something.
Yeah.
Now they've decided to call off or suspend the strike. Their demands, have they been met? Let's watch this video. We'll be back.
The nurses for anymore. You madam for pa. Politicians. Oh, madam for pa. Make your pictures are meaning ho. Me body energy. No so don't no wife no. So ubeje di say Mrs. strike na nke ekwu for do time no. Say you no catch na na nko so abeje di. And then you can say so madam for no bisa no. Oh, na me catch you na esi na me catch you. And nurses no mu secretary no Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. O mu secretary o Ghana ha na mi busa o. Atukwan. Atukwan. Eni number 1. President odu o mu anim no wa he. Okoda dada. What does it tell you? When any nurses for no, this is not politics. This is human life. Yeah, transition. No, I don't know when raise your voice at that time. But me say, Mami, bisabe, me the ticket. Ah, child to kwa broche beba. Near the ato air, if that is allowed. Near the secretary nanso, time to kwa koye. This was cooked and hatched. Omuka o dem, omuni omukuno. Say you did be abine any mass, but the unsuspecting nurses one, our mudia channel, and na me yaw. Now the make can say your woman ne kwa kuno you will lead and no dear when him no. And in the secretary no more way. Me na make on record say, ma me ne kuwa catch me say.
So you heard it for yourself.
I mean, Val, like I said, Obama is my very good friend, but this one, it's unfortunate, and so the point is that, like you said, your demands hasn't been met for all the people that have lost their lives because of this illegality. What will happen to those families? Are you going to bring the lives of their relatives back? It was so needless, so needless, and so, like I said. They shouldn't attempt that, and this is a wake-up call to the government. I think that government should.
You think you should have asked the nurses, those who want to work, come to work. Those who don't want to work, stay at home. And then they would have just employed some people.
So many unemployed nurses in the house.
There are lots of backlogs. Yes, they want employment.
We could have used the opportunity gradually, and a lot of them would have. If you were nurse grade Z, and tomorrow you come back, you start from grade A, and tomorrow it will happen again. You see, I think that we have reached a stage where someone has to say, it's enough. Let's do it this way.
Because I think there are other groups that are taking a cue from what the nurses have done.
They are waiting.
Just this evening, Clocksack released a press statement.
Wow.
They are giving the Labour Minister from Monday, that's the 16th of June, to the 30th of June, to implement the condition of service, because they say the groundswell, they cannot control their members. Otherwise, they'll go on a nationwide strike from the 1st of July. So the government has from the 16th to the 30th of June to implement the condition of service for Clocksack members. Here is the situation. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, when they declared the strike, I remember I spoke to the Deputy General Secretary, or the General Secretary I should say, and he was very emphatic. They are not going for any meeting except to implement the condition of service. At that time, the Minister for Health, Kwamina Akando, had asked that they form a committee. Okay, so they have a rep from the Finance Ministry, the Health Ministry, the leadership of the Ghana Nurses and Midwives Association. Come to the table, let's look at the condition. They said everything has been agreed upon. What they are looking for is implementation. They failed to show up at the meeting for the minister. They failed to show up when the National Labour Commission asked them to come. They failed to show up at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission meeting. And I was surprised that although yesterday, when the Parliamentary Committee on Health met them, the leadership were not part, but they were the ones doing the communication.
Yes.
But so Parliament invites you for a meeting, you show up. But the same meeting, the Health Ministry, National Labour Commission, Fair Wages invite you, you fail to show up for that meeting.
Quite interesting.
Because they have their political members on the Parliamentary Select Committee. So those ones are spoken. And you see,
but the committee did not implement the condition of service.
Is getting to a stage where the sympathy they feel they will enjoy is waning.
Exactly.
It's waning. People are seeing through this, that this is really not a genuine strike. Let's call it qua strike. And you ask the question whether they have been the conditional.
At that time, from May 2024, right down.
The thing in January 2025. So January is out. We are looking at February, March, April, May. Because we are now in June. So May, 4 months. You expect that a government that comes in 4 months should just come and take it and implement it from where?
I mean, it's unfortunate. I think that government should guard against surprises. This is their 26th issue they are talking about. Government should by now be looking at serious options.
I think so too.
Because these people can surprise the government at any time, and so it was going to be a big blow if that happens. So government, I think that that's all add our voice to the fact that and encourage government not to guard against surprises in the future.
Okay, so now you know what the president was. Before the 2024 elections, the nurses agreed to wait for the implementation. So why the declaration of strike now? And the fact that even amongst them, some of the groups said, you took us by surprise. We were supposed to go and consult or announce to our members and let them give us feedback. Yet you decided to go on the strike. And again, the strike, they said the only thing that was going to bring them back was implementation. As you and I speak, the condition of service has not been implemented. But they say they've suspended the strike. They are returning to work tomorrow. Let's see what happens. This is Fact of the Week here on CTV Ghana's #1, on Facebook, my CTV GH.
Excellent furnishing in a real estate business is a great deal for survival. My struggles as a young estate developer were cut short when I discovered Fernart Ghana. With quality furniture made from the finest woods and amazing after-sale service, Fernart Ghana changed my story with every single home I built. It's a one-stop shop that serves the interests of clients with a variety of living room and dining sets, solid wood kitchen installations, wardrobes, doors, cabinets, beds, pergolas, floor parquets, and many other wooden products that will last a lifetime. With Fernart Ghana, all clients are offered the opportunity to customize furniture to their specifications, and the smile on their faces says it all. Thanks to Fernart, now your home can look beautiful with furniture that would last for generations. Visit Fernart Ghana today and share my story. Locate us at Yaniba Estate, Osu, Accra, or call 0303 966085 or 055 278 4097. Think wood, think Fernart.
Welcome back to Facts of the Week on CTV Ghana's #1. We are live on Facebook, my CTV GH. My name is Valentina Ofori Afriyie. The show is supported by Akwaba Natural Mineral Water, quenching thirst and nourishing the nation with pure, clean, refreshing Akwaba Natural Mineral Water. And also supported by Fernart Wood is for Life. Great furniture is made by Fernart. My guest, lawyer Theophilus Jemega Jr., private legal practitioner, and Dr. Desmond Kofi Annan, broadcast journalist. So, this job that we do, journalism, something happened yesterday. And it seems to be a repeat of what happened in 2019 when Radio Gold, XYZ, and a lot of other stations were shut down by the then Communications Minister, Mrs. Eslo Uso Kufu, and then the NCA under the watch of Joe Anoche, who was the Executive Secretary at that time. Yesterday, the NCA issued a statement that some 64 radio stations or so had violated some regulations, so they had to shut down. This was done simply and on a quiet. So that statement came in the morning. Just before midday, certain stations had gone off. Asase, Guide Radio, Wontumi, and Happy FM, amongst a host of others, had gone off. There was no military invasion. There were no police personnel that were taken to the premises of the stations to put them off, as was done in 2019 in the case of Radio Gold and others. Now, just about 2 hours after that, President Mahama issues a directive. And that directive is on your screen. In a communique signed by government spokesperson Felix Kwachi Fusu, President Mahama pleading for clemency and asking the Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations Minister, together with the NCA, to immediately restore those radio stations and then give them moratorium or time for them to do the needful. So the Communications Minister went on the floor of Parliament to brief the House on that matter. But surprisingly, so this time there's been, listen to the Communications Minister on the floor of Parliament yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the President, directed that the Ministry of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovation work with the regulator, the NCA, to allow all the affected radio stations some additional time to correct the identified breaches within a defined time frame. Those who fail to do so shall have their authorizations formally revoked under the law. In line with this directive from His Excellency the President, the Ministry and the NCA have granted a further 30-day grace period to all defaulting entities. Let me, just for the records, name the stations that have been affected. Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited. Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Takrady on 101.3 FM. Wontumi Multimedia Company Limited, operating in Accra on 95.9 FM. Jimbali Community Association in Jimbali 95.9. Asasi Broadcasting Company Limited in Accra on 99.5 FM. Dynamic Chapters Limited in Wenchi on 95.7. Global Media Alliance in Accra on 98.9. God Steve Media Association in Atimpoku on 87.7. Rejoice FM in Mim on 101.7. Sankofa in Takrady on 98.7. And Sweet FM in Chifopraso on.
So that's the Communications, Digital Technology, Innovation Minister, Sam Nate George, on the floor of Parliament. He said President Mahama's intervention. But in 2019, President Akufo-Addo at that time said there could be no presidential intervention for Radio Gold, XYZ, and the other stations that were affected. Listen to him.
This is what's going on. I was a bit surprised about the amnesty for the radio stations. I think that the opportunities, the law is very clear as to how these radio stations, once they have been closed down or whatever it is, they were not closed down by me. That's the first thing. So it's difficult for me to be the one to unlock them. But the procedures are there. I'm surprised that a year or so later, those procedures are not being used to be able to get radio stations back on track. I don't really think that there's any big secret about them. The law is very clear. You make the application back to the National Communications Authority and go through the various procedures. And you don't have.
This President Akufo-Addo, 2019. The radio stations were not closed by him. The laws are clear, the procedure is clear. So once he didn't close them, he couldn't open them. And he's surprised about the amnesty that they were asking him for and all that. Fast forward 2025. Did President Mahama close the radio stations yesterday? Are the laws not there? In fact, that Electronic Communication Act was passed in 2008 under the NPP government. Yet, President Mahama has intervened, and the jobs of Ghanaians who work in those media houses are secured. At least they have 1 month to figure out what they want to do with their lives. The staff of Radio Gold, XYZ, and many others, Munti FM, didn't have that grace period. In fact, the staff of those who worked in the banking sector, the banks that were closed, they didn't have that. They woke up one morning, went to work, and they were there. Military takeover. They saw national security, police, because the banks had been closed. Council, let me start with you.
Well, the law is there for man to obey. You always hear people say the law is there for man. The law is man is not there for the law, but the law is there for man. But it's there for man to obey. I can understand where President John Mahama was coming from.
Okay.
Remember, anything His Excellency the President is doing, he has at the back of his mind, I need to do it differently from what Akufo-Addo did.
Okay.
Now, the words we heard from Akufo-Addo, the much touted human rights activist, makes me feel like military dictators were much more better human rights activists. Why do I say so? You see, there's something called public policy consideration. Is it in the interest of the public for all those radio stations to be closed? And as you mentioned, a number of those radio stations were pro-NDC affiliated radio stations. A number of people lost their jobs. Was it in the interest of the public for those radio stations to be closed? There are some radio stations, when you listen to them in Accra, majority of their listeners are those who don't speak Twi. And a number of them were involved there, and they were closed. What happened? To the extent that it took the leadership of NDC, I remember the then chairman, Ofosu Ampofo, to appeal to the president to say, let the radio stations be allowed to operate. And you were telling us you were not the one responsible for their closure. Now, the law is supposed to be straight, interpreted and applied strictly. But the president, John Mahama, has given them the opportunity to say, go and clear your debts and sin no more. For me, what that means is that the president is listening, watching the terrain, knowing that, hey, if we get this done, a lot of Ghanaians will suffer. Not only NDC, for all MPP, for all you know, there are NDC sympathizers who work in some of those radio stations. Today, I listened to the man for Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman. He made a very bad statement that when you go to places like Howwe, Pando, the radio stations you find there are likely to be owned by pro-NDC men. John Peter Amewo has 2 radio stations in Howwe. He's not a pro-NDC person. So for him to say such a thing, and with the pedestal he is, I felt a bit sad that it has come from him. However, he was also of the view that the president, John Mahama's directive is going to make it pick and choose. And the president was going through some very bad waters, uncharted waters, so we should be careful. I would like to add that I don't think after the 30 days, the grace period will be extended.
No, not at all.
It won't be extended. But last in the Bible, come the 30 days, some people will be found in this scenario.
Rock.
I have always said that elections have consequences. And so in choosing your leaders or in our democratic rights, in exercising who leads us, we have to be circumspect. And clearly, I'm sure the Ghanaian people who largely voted for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be excited. I mean, you have some, yes, in party NDC people who are not very happy about the decision by Mr. President to, as it were, give some clemency to these offenders of the law. I would entreat and urge them to hasten slowly. I mean, he's the man, he's the leader the Ghanaian people decided to hand over Ghana to. In fact, to exercise a certain level of discretion at every time, at every point in time. And so, if he feels that for whatever reason that, or for whatever things that he is seeing that we may not have seen as a people, and decides that, okay, let's extend the days for them. Like Council said, if after 30 days, is it 30 days?
Yes, 30 days.
Yeah, 30 days. If nothing really happens, of course, nobody can then come and blame anybody in government for not exercising some level of face, like human face to some of these things. In fact, we were all not happy when Muntie, Radio Gold, XYZ, and a couple of radio stations, I think 100 and something of them were shut down at the time. If you are to do analysis about the job loss, even in the space at the time, I don't think that it was exciting. I'm not sure that is the same path John Dramani Mahama would want to take, for which reason he has given this thing. So I think that we should commend the president, even though, you see, when you hear some of the leadership of the opposition party speak on this matter, then sometimes you cringe and you want to hold yourself in order not to say certain things on TV and on radio. Because if such a discretion has been observed, whatever it is, by Mr. President, and you come and say settings, I mean, if you say some of these things that the president and the minister had connived to do something just to court some public, whatever it is.
But was the public even bashing the president?
No.
Nobody took on the president.
Nobody knows
We were not even aware that the issues were off air.
Really?
Nobody took on the point.
In fact, people whose radio stations or networks were part of this thing went on their social media handles, like a former is it Prime Minister? What's his name?
Gabi Asare.
Gabi was on
the owner
on
of
the X. Yes,
he accepted that yes, they defaulted. They did not pay.
He said his general manager reported to him that they had defaulted. It was in order, and so he is appreciating the gesture by Mr. President. And you are a certain leader and sitting in Parliament and saying that we are settings. I mean, when we say things like that, we are not helping. I have said that if indeed Mr. Mahama or His Excellency John Dramani Mahama came on the back of the risk-setting agenda, I'm not sure that would want to do the same things that the former regime did. Other than that, there was in fact, then the risk-setting is moot.
Yeah.
So
there's no need for it.
Yes. So let's. I mean, his supporters who are not happy. Yes, you have every reason not to be happy because it was hurting at the time. And look, we played a video, and you listen to your president, the president of the land at the time, saying that media it is not my job. I don't.
Pontius Pilate attitude.
I don't take radio stations out of.
He says the law is the law. So why is President Mahama not allowing the law to work?
Understand why
is he preventing?
Exactly. You see, he doesn't even understand why some amnesty plea would have to come to him, and so he thought that the law has to be implemented to the latter. But here's a case: we have a resetting precedent.
Let me interrupt you. If you don't want to take the amnesty, shut your radio station yourself. I mean, if you don't want to take the amnesty,
exactly.
You should appeal to those radio stations.
In fact, they are back on air today. They sent a thank you message to the president.
No, they can still shut down. Yes, and say that we don't want part of the agenda that how do you say settings?
Settings.
We don't want the settings, so we'll shut down.
Exactly. So it is to tell you that everything in this country, I mean, the minority would want to read a certain posting, and it's so unfair to some of these. And so we thank Mr. President. I'm particularly excited about the move, and we pray that it is also not to say that certain things would have to come to him for him to give clemency or amnesty and no. There are certain things we are looking forward to seeing that he deals head on. In fact, he shouldn't even meddle in it at all.
Okay. So, two other things happened this week. The Ken Ofori Afriyie matter, and also the Ghana CD and all that. So, the first video we are going to show you, we have two videos of the week for you. The first one is from Solomon Wusu. He's talking about Ken Ofori Afriyie versus the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And the second one is the Deputy Communications Director of the NPP, and that's Ozu Bempa, aka Abu Apapin. He's also talking about Obiba JK. Enjoy.
They should annoy us. We sit somewhere when you speak, Ken Ofori Afriyie come and quote Matthew 13. When you say no, he come with Nehemiah 4:19. When you say he said Jeremiah. Every quotation you have given to us, now come and account for what you did with the very Bible quotations that you quoted with your white shirt and with your soft speaking. Now you say you are nowhere to be found. We have to be serious. $1 say dollar baby Bruno enkoye dide na mo ya fa ho o munya botre ye de ye de nyoma tukuye ye de akoshe Russia Ukraine ye ka na mfa ye de afa na mo ye dollar idan. It was one of the fundamental issues that play a role in this election 2024. MPP4 minya obi okachem say mo flag belay assure ye say when it comes to management of the city and the dollar and the economy, nobody can beat him. One say the wind out of the seal. Everybody was so assured. Say economic when it comes to those days. Say a year economic MPP symposium. Na ye Obiba JK be jina no man elect no the NDC baby abubu agu fam. Baby abubu agu fam. Meboa. Now we are aware. The Ghanaian people had the assurance. They had the confidence. Say MPP, we have the men to manage the economy and manage the city. Meboa. Not just a Nipanua or dear Nimuno Obiba JK no. Boy, too much. You know him say and when it comes to say Ghana 42 mima Akufo-Addo the uncle Dakra economy na dey chese ya no say you messy no ya bed dribble or to say what you say but you go to a point that say na ye Obiba JK ya the question that towards Obiba JK go answer what they are fading it now say Ghana for unu dey call. Hey, we were running away from the real issue of the economy and the city and we were running away from it. Meboa, intermediate, the yeme man now so die say NDC for private ma be manage dollar. I'm a nay businessman be catch say catch them. Say mo tutu mu nyoma yi. Now the way a new mercy crown and go for mu we need the goodwill of the Ghanaian people no matter what. What if they just say Obia say ya you go defend sa petrol amudia beya. And majority of the business people, that's what we're looking for.
And it's also Bempa.
But this is very unfair. I mean, who is he referring to as Obiba JK and others?
They they say, I mean, he gave a description of who Obiba JK is, so.
I think even a child born today will know what he said, because he says that you are running away from economy and now doing digitalization. There was only one person who was digitalizing Ghana and digitalizing everything, but currently running away from his own digital map. As one of them said, he's the only one who believes in data, but cannot use his own data he obtained in 2024 election for anything now. He believes in data. So,
but there are some messages here.
Oh, let's wrap up.
Yes, we are enjoying the great discussion on facts of the week. In fact, the attitude of Mami Perpetual shows politically biased she is. As I speak, railway workers have not been paid salaries since October 2024 till June 2025. So if nurses are asking for all these allowance, what will the other workers do? This is coming from Juliet in Kaswa. So I'm watching you live from Kaswa, Adam Nana. My sister keep the good work for Mother Ghana. This is coming from Esuman. Richard. David Jachi says this is sabotage. Mickey says Sheikh Afache. That's true. They will be shipped out gradually like wheat. Okay, I don't know what that means. And the last one here is it says the government must sit up and whip the system. Well, there are so many. Okay, so blah blah blah. Government must sit up now. So these are the messages.
Thank you very much for your interaction with us this week on Facts of the Week here on CTV Ghana's #1, and also for joining us. In case you missed any part of the program, you can go on Facebook, my CTVGH, and then you can watch and post your comments there. It's my pleasure to serve you Facts of the Week. My name is Valentina Ofori Afriyie. My guest, Dr. Desmond Kofi Annan, broadcast journalist, and lawyer Theophilus Jumega Jr., a private legal practitioner. Facts of the Week was brought to you in association. Fairnut Wood is for life. Great furniture is made by Fairnut, and Akwaba natural mineral water, quenching thirst and nourishing the nation with pure, clean, refreshing Akwaba natural mineral water. Thank you for your company. I leave you in capable hands.